Hello and welcome to Electric Independence. This episode we're visiting West Philly with DJ and producer RJD2. We're going to take a look at his synths, his studio, his workshop. And as you can see, we're in a kitchen. It's because RJ has generously offered to make us a cobbler while we take a look around his place. How's it going, RJ?
Doing good.
Excellent.
Yourself?
I'm pretty good, pretty hungry. What do you got for us?
Well, let's do it. We got some cobbler going here. I like to, mix 2 or 3 different fruits when I'm making pies or cobblers or whatever. So today I figured I'd try apple and raspberry. This is a bit of an experiment. Now we move on to topping, which is going to be a little bit of salt. I'm doing half and half flour and oats. I'm going to do a tiny little bit of baking powder here, just like a pinch. And then we go in with a little bit of butter. And this is where it's going to get funky. This is where it's going to look like I'm not exactly knowing what I'm doing. You need to get some kind of moisture when it bakes. You need some moisture going into the topping. I'm sure I'm breaking some kind of baking taboo right now. I'm sure somebody's watching this that is a quote-unquote real baker thinking, this guy's an idiot. I think the way that people probably make good cobbler is they just chock it completely full with butter and brown sugar, and you bake those things together and it'll give a nice crisp. But I'm trying to take it easy on that to make it as tart as possible and as not as sweet as possible. So because I'm not using a whole gang of butter, I run into moisture problems. So what I'm doing now is basically trying to mitigate that with milk. Here we go.
Should we go downstairs and take a look?
Let's do it. Let me put these eggs and the milk away. So, this is my studio.
Whoa.
And you want to see the drums?
I'd love to see the drums.
Okay.
When you're buying all these old analog synths, are they just keyboards that you've read about or heard elsewhere, or
They're mostly just things that kind of like have a lore about them. Usually I'm like a liner note reader, Like you brought up Herbie Hancock. Okay, this is what he played on, whatever, Manchild or XYZ or something, and then he's like, oh, that's in the back of my head.
Do you remember the first time you heard like a Hammond organ on a record or anything, like Booker T or?
Well, for the longest time I didn't know what it was. I think about like the Deep Purple records that are just like have this like screaming wall of sound, and it's like, what is that? I was like, is that a guitar? It's like, I thought it was like some kind of processed guitar or something.
And they sound completely different with the Leslie than they do without as well.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like night and day. And the fun of the Leslie is you can send anything through. You can play guitar through it or send vocals through it or whatever you want. You can use it as a processing.
Have you messed around with that? I know a lot of people.
A little bit. Definitely guitar. It sounds just absolutely gorgeous with guitar through it. So let's show you how what this whole setup is like here. So I have the cable running through that other door into here. And forgive my mess, because this room is in the middle of work. But this has got 2 rotors, one on the top, one on the bottom. And when you hit the pedal, that'll stop and this will go to a fast speed, so it's got kind of slow and fast speed, basically.
Out of all these like 50 synths or so that you have, which one's your favorite? This one?
It's gotta be the CS80. It's a mighty beast. It's so expressive.
I mean, and these are super hard to find because it's like the famous Vangelis Blade Runner synth. What is...
And it's so distracting, right? Like, you don't want to talk, you just want to...
It's kind of like, it's considered that you can basically do anything on this synthesizer, right?
Pretty much anything sounds good. It's the most playable synthesizer I've ever... I mean, it's got the expression pedal, sustain pedal, the ribbon controller.
I mean, I've wanted one of these forever, but they're not that easy to find. And when you do that, it's super expensive. Like, how did you manage to come across one in such good condition?
This was another one that I had just had on my list for at least a year, probably more like a year and a half or 2 years. I talked to somebody that had synthesizers or was into it or whatever. I was like, I'm looking to buy a synth. And the way that it happened is I remember I finally just got to a point where I was like, this is what I'll pay. I think at the time I was saying, you know, I'd pay $5 or $6 grand for, I think $6 grand was what I said, you know. A guy who runs a studio that's friends with the Black Keys, and he's like another synth enthusiast guy or whatever, he wrote to me and said, hey, I heard you're looking for, you know, a CS80, I've got one that I might be willing to sell. And so that was it. That's how it, you know. Yeah, so the signal path of pretty much everything that I record is just, if it's microphone, preamp, compressor, and then right into Pro Tools. I don't even go through, I use the console for when I'm mixing and stuff, but I don't. These here are old 1950s RCA tube mic preamps that I did some restoration and rack mount work on, and basically just put power supplies and pigtails on them. So pretty much everything gets recorded with those preamps.
Did you have like a friend or a guru who taught you about all of this stuff, or are you all self-taught on like compressors,
Electronics and soldering
and soldering and all that?
All of the electronic stuff. My dad worked as an electrician for a long time. He still basically kind of does. So I have a bit of knowledge from him that I can draw on, but most of it is just trial and error. But this is kind of the funnest processing / sound generating tool, which is a modular synth that I've been building for, I don't know, probably about a year and a half or so, something like that. All of the elements of an analog synthesizer are just broken down into functions. So you have a tone generator, oscillators, and then filters and an amplifier. So these are all DIY modules. These two faceplates I bought, but everything else I've built the circuits and built the faceplates. Very rarely have I built something and it worked the first time. So you do need to kind of, I wouldn't say reverse engineer, but kind of go backwards from where it should be and start to pick apart the functions of the circuit board, or the circuitry. This is actually a Leslie. I don't know if you can hear the stereo panning, but this is a module that's meant to imitate the Leslie. Can you hear it? Yeah.
So you're gonna keep adding to this?
Oh yeah, this is it's so fun building stuff. I mean, it's so, yeah. So I just want to have like a big gargantuan whole wall eventually. For me, it's been a great way to learn just some of the fundamental things about, you know, tone generation and filtering and processing and all that kind of stuff. You know, you have to get in there and start turning knobs and patching cables and stuff to understand what's going on. I think as a learning tool, it's been most effective.
Is it hard to stop though?
Oh yeah, it's totally both on building and on playing. It's tough to control yourself. Yeah.
And now you got a whole workshop upstairs, right?
Yeah. Do you want to go see that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Check that out.
So when we were downstairs, you showed us the modular that you've been building. And RJ's electrical. I guess this is RJ's electrical,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah, this is home base. Here, I'll pull out something that's finished so you can grab that. That's what a finished module looks like. And this is where things start, is just a blank circuit board. Here's sort of a halfway point, is board, and I've just started the wiring on this. So then the next thing that needs to happen is the wiring would go to all of the jacks and pots and places, and then once it's actually working properly, I'd take it downstairs and it would go in the modular, and you run your screws in and it's ready to go. You know, I'm worried our cobbler it's been out of the oven.
Okay.
And I'm worried it's getting a little cold. I want to make sure we got to maintain the proper temperature. It's critical. So let's go check on the cobbler.
Too much talking, not enough eating, right?
No shit. Okay. Let's see what the deal is. No, you don't get cobbler dog. Okay.
So one other thing I was curious about upstairs is I saw some posters with AC Alone. Now you guys have made a lot of music together, right?
Yeah, we did a whole album. I worked on his Love and Hate record, and then we did a whole album together called Magnificent City. So yeah, we've done a fair amount of work together today to this point.
And one of those songs has achieved recent notoriety as the theme for Mad Men, correct?
That is correct.
How did that come about?
It happened before the first season even aired. They basically approached us and said, "Hey, we want to use this track, A Beautiful Mind, off of the instrumental version of the AC Alone album for this theme." So the theme song for the show we've got coming up.
Did you have any idea of what the show was going to be exactly, or?
No, that was the weird part, is that they didn't. I was just like, oh, it's some show on AMC. It'll probably air for 6 episodes and then get canceled. It's probably going to blow.
Yeah.
So it was kind of weird that it ended up being not only a great show that to this day I now have become, a complete and totally devoted fan of. But yeah, it's been definitely one of my more proud moments as a quote-unquote professional musician. I'm curious.
All right.
Why don't you dig in?
Jeez, this is a big cobbler. This is great. So you've shown us around your studio. You've cooked for us.
Yes, sir.
Baked for us.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Thanks for checking it out.